I can't understand how you can cut Medicare $716 billion for current recipients of Medicare.
From the Congressional Budget Office to House Speaker John Boehner, which says if the president's Affordable Care Act is repealed, spending for Medicare would increase by an estimated $716 billion over the next decade.
I've proposed reforms that will save Medicare money by getting rid of wasteful spending in the healthcare system. Reforms that will not touch your Medicare benefits, not by a dime.
In fact, Vice Presidential nominee Paul Ryan's proposed budget contains these same reductions, something we asked Governor Romney about today.
Congressman Ryan's budget makes those same cuts to Medicare. How do you square that?
Well, first of all, Congressman Ryan has joined my campaign, and his campaign is my campaign now, and we're on exactly the same page, and my campaign has made it very clear. The president's cuts of $716 billion to Medicare, those cuts are going to be restored if I become president and Paul Ryan becomes vice president.
But the Congressional Budget Office concluded the cuts, which do not come out of the Medicare Trust Fund, actually make Medicare more efficient and extend the life of the program. And all but 4 members of the House GOP voted for those same cuts in passing Congressman Ryan's budget plan.
Now, when Congressman Ryan looked into that TV camera and attacked President Obama's Medicare savings as, quote, the biggest, coldest power play, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Because that $716 billion is exactly to the dollar the same amount of Medicare savings that he has in his own budget. You got to get one thing. It takes some brass to attack a guy for doing what you did.
Congressman Ryan has joined my campaign, and his campaign is my campaign now. Congressman Ryan has joined my campaign, and his campaign is my campaign now. Congressman Ryan has joined my campaign, and his campaign is my campaign now. Either current standard Medicare or a private plan. And this is the proposal which Congressman Paul Ryan has adopted. It's a proposal which I believe is absolutely right on.
You said during a debate earlier this year of Paul Ryan's latest Medicare proposal that it's absolutely right on. So I'm curious, is there anything about it you disagree with?
Well, the items that we agree on, I think outweigh any differences there may be.
Are there any specific policies in your budget that you think are different from?
There may be. We'll take a look at the differences.
First of all, I mean, he did embrace what the Ryan budget. I mean, he embraced it.
I have my budget plan, as you know, that I've put out, and that's the budget plan that we're going to run on. My plan for Medicare is very similar to his plan for Medicare.
But isn't the Ryan plan the Romney plan? I mean, here's what Mitt Romney... Well, let me just read you a quote. Hang on.
But it isn't.
I applaud it. It's an excellent piece of work and very much needed.
It sounds awfully like the Paul Ryan Medicare plan.
But it's very different.
I've got proposals to make sure Medicare and Social Security are there for them without any question. To allow some portion of people's money that they're now having taken out of their salary to be invested in Social Security, have some of that be allowed by them to be invested in
Privatization.
You call it privatization, I call it a private account. What I would do with Social Security is that I would lower, if you will, the 2.0, the version for the next generations coming up, I'd lower the rate of inflation growth in the benefits received by higher income recipients and keep the rate as it is now pretty high for lower income recipients. And it'd also add a year to 2 to the retirement age under Social Security. I view that the areas that you have to consider are higher income people receiving less rapid growth in their benefits and their inflators. If you don't agree with that, you want to give wealthier people bigger portion, that's your right. I think we should have what's known as progressive indexing. I think we also should consider a higher retirement age. Those are things that should be considered as part. That's my view. You may disagree with it.
You support scrapping the Social Security payroll cap so that rich people pay their fair share into the trust fund.
You know, it's become a very popular. The question was, do I support raising the cap on Social Security taxes so that rich people pay their fair share? You know, there was a time in this country that we didn't celebrate attacking people based on their success. And when we...
But do you support the voucher system, Governor?
What I support is no change for current retirees and near retirees to Medicare.
On the same page and on the same path relative to saying that we have to reform Medicare, offering options like vouchers and things like that, and opportunities for folks to look at this from a common sense approach that will help to alleviate our debt and our burden on Americans to start solving problems for this, something that this administration has yet to do. So I think there's boldness in that, and I think, again, there's unity with this, offering options like vouchers and things like that.
Offering options like vouchers and things like that, vouchers and things like that, vouchers and things.
The Romney-Ryan plan would immediately increase costs for seniors. By design, it saves Medicare money by providing seniors with a voucher that declines in value relative to rising healthcare costs. So healthcare costs are going up. The value of the voucher does not keep pace. Seniors will have to eat that cost, as opposed to the president's Medicare plan, which says we need to contain costs by changing the incentives in the healthcare system to reward providers for the quality of care they provide rather than the quantity of care they provide.
Governor Romney, you want it repealed. You want the Affordable Care Act repealed. Why?
I sure do. Well, in part, it comes again from my experience.
Well, we do provide care for people who don't have insurance. People, if someone has a heart attack, they don't sit in their apartment and die. We pick them up in an ambulance and take them to the hospital and give them care. And different states have different ways of providing for that care. Look, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to have millions and millions of people who have no health insurance and yet who can go to the emergency room and get entirely free care for which they have no responsibility, particularly if they're people who have sufficient means to pay their own way.
When they show up at the hospital, they get care. They get free care paid for by you and me. Right. If that's not a form of socialism, I don't know what is.
Put together an exchange, and the president's copying that idea. I'm glad to hear that.
Those who follow the path that we pursued will find it's the best path, and we'll end up with a nation that's taken a mandate approach.
You know what? Everybody should have insurance. They should pay.
His includes mandates on individuals, on corporations, and on states. Mine includes no mandates.
Governor Romney's system has mandates in Massachusetts, although you've backed away from mandates on a national basis.
No, I like mandates. The mandates work.
Beg your pardon?
I didn't
know you were going to admit that.
No, absolutely.
You like mandates.
Let me tell you what kind of mandates I like, Fred, which is this.
The ones you come up with.
And at the time, by the way, I crafted the plan, and in the last campaign, I was asked, is this something that you would have the whole nation do? And I said, no. This is something that was crafted for Massachusetts. It would be wrong to adopt this as a nation.
Was able to put in place a plan that helped get health insurance premiums down and gets all of our citizens insured. If we can do that nationally, we help not only Michigan and the auto industry, but the entire nation.
One thing I'd never do would be impose a state's plan on the entire nation. That makes no sense. I'll repeal Obamacare.
If people had been in Massachusetts under Governor Romney's health care plan, they would have had health care.
But does that mean that the mandate in the state of Massachusetts under your health care law also is a tax?
Actually,
and that you raised taxes as governor?
Actually, the Chief Justice, in his opinion, made it very clear that at the state level, states have the power to put in place mandates. They don't need to require them to be called taxes in order for them to be constitutional. And as a result, Massachusetts' mandate, was a penalty, was described that way by the legislature and by me, and so it stays as it was.
Whatever it is called, I mean, let me just, whether it's a penalty, whether it's a tax, it means that Americans, if they don't have insurance, are going to pay something, whatever they call it.
I made it very clear throughout my campaign, and actually while I was governor of Massachusetts, that the issue of the uninsured should be dealt with at the state level.
But you make a very good point, which is that the place you put your money just makes a pretty clear indication of where your heart is. The place you put your money just makes a pretty clear indication of where your heart is. The place you put your money just makes a pretty clear indication of where your heart is. The place you put your money just makes a pretty clear indication of where your heart is. The place you put your money just makes a pretty clear indication of where your heart is.